Sage in that lineup too, right? So switching Dapper later on onto that Sage did help for that plant, and then putting Sick onto a Sova definitely helps that out. But to focus on T1, where they don't have a Sage, they actually could still get a lot from clearing space with the Viper in there. So with that, the pistol round is live, and we'll see how that comes into play to C9 Blue as they're pushing so aggressively here towards this orb. Two players moving up, lots of attack here towards the shots that we heard towards the A side, but Poise is in a great spot.
Well, Poise just gets an absolute dirty one-tap shot onto automatic, but there's a quick response, and that's the site completely defenseless. Trigger warning for anyone that's been attacked by a hawk in their life. You're going to hear that call sound quite a bit, so cover your ears. I know that you're probably very low in the number of people that exist in the world, but you never know. They do have site control. The Viper wall comes in, and you've got the Viper holding the flank. Curry is waiting for a push to come through from that area, but they're not going to. It looked like for a second we might see a playback towards mid, but you can see everyone's going to be coming through from the screens. The three remaining players trying to make their way in. Leaf is already on site. Got the pop going out, looking for something to sink its teeth into. The nade comes out just a second too late as Spider steps up with two Sheriff shots. Actually, hold on. Skadoodle died after the round was long over, trying to dodge the nade damage that came out. So a little bit awkward, but it's the round going T1's direction regardless.
And you see some flexing in terms of agent as well, right? When Spider is playing an Omen, he's going into a Jet into this round, so you see these changes happening depending on the maps for T1, and you saw that execution. Curry putting that wall, expect that to come out very often, and not having to use the Trailblazer early was just T1 punishing how C9 Blue, yes, they got first blood, but they didn't pay attention to how many more players were holding towards that belt side, so they had a best position, at least for T1, for the crossfire setup and the trade for the upper hand to just rush into the site. This round, though, a stack from C9 Blue on the defense, where T1 are currently walking into it, but again, the utility might be an obstacle for C9 Blue to try to hold this.
Another Viper wall coming out, as well as a hawk flying around several corners to get that flash into the site. There's one up in top of Tube, that's Leaf. Nice nade coming out as well. Follow-up and backup from Poise. The nade keeps them back just a bit as they try to get onto this site, but they're being slowed down pretty heavily. Now the Frenzy does great damage, but it's actually the fadeaway kill coming in from Poise as he was running low on the mag, decided to get out. It's Curry, though, who's making this one cost a bit by taking players out, and I say that, but realistically, this is Cloud9 coming in with a force that caught T1 off guard. T1, they won the pistol. Actually, they were not anticipating this round. Now, this is great with this toxic wall up, is that allows Curry to get on the other side, not worry about what could be waiting on the other side inside of sight. But with 26 seconds left, he's going to have to step on the gas pedal in a moment. And Zeta's just holding that line, waiting for the peak.
There was no force buy for C9 Blue. They were just on pistols. It was Ghost
They had
Frenzies.
an SMG.
They upgraded that.
They did have an SMG.
Right, so...
I think it was Leaf up in Tube had a Spectre.
Okay. I saw the kill with the Ghost, but it doesn't matter. I think it was still very well done. The thrifty one there for C9 Blue. I think what was missing there for T1 was it started off with that guided light, but there was not that much information. When you had that flash coming in that says, okay, potentially blinded, but we don't know exactly where they're coming from. And I saw the recon dart getting shot out, but it never pinged anybody out. So we're missing some corners that didn't get cleared here for T1 pushing into that A site. So with that, it was C9 Blue getting that eco, and it's going to force now T1 to be on a very stingy buy. We got a Frenzy with small shield. We got a Marshall, but it's still first blood for the attackers.
I stand corrected. You are right. That was a Ghost. My mistake. But it was, regardless, great round coming in from Cloud9. And now they're flexing the full force of what they've got available to them. But T1 is in an advanced position, and that's going to be some weapon pickups. He's got the Marshall of all things in the hands of Jet, but a rifle has been picked up by one of the players here, and it'll be a 1-for-1 exchange on the site that results in a 3-on-3. Skadoodle's low on HP, 38, waiting around the corner with that rifle. Poise comes out with a quick clear, but you've got Curry on the flank trying to do what he can, but the spike is in a terrible spot, and Curry can't do much about this. 1, 2, can't get there in time to stop the defuse. The round will go the direction of C9, and the last kill even comes in for Poise after the fact. Cloud9 barely hold on to win the round. but the money is in a decent enough spot with a few players. We'll see how it affects the rest of the team. Weapon drops are going to have to come out.
Yeah, I mean, you're happy so far. You get 4 kills, you get a plant. It's a great way on your eco. Like, the half buy that you've gotten is still good enough to get at least a little bit going here on the attacker side. You see Spider only with a Spectre, but on the other end, despite that, usually we say, okay, it's very good at least that they hurt the econ for C9 Blue, but C9 Blue, they won that 30 on the second round with only pistols. So they had free upgrades going into that previous round. Losing that one here does not do much. There's still a situation in a position where C9 could actually take this round and put T1 back in like an economy disadvantage, where denies are also coming out from Spider, which also means it's okay for him to have this Spectre, because he could actually create space into this A side. If he misses a Denies, he's got short range battles with the run and gun and a Spectre, and could hopefully turn things around here for T1.
Poise up into, pops the ult, Empress is out, increased fire rate, and of course that ability to dismiss. Oh, that's uncomfortable. Poise gonna zip line over the top and come up on the backside of this. They're not gonna be expecting it. 1, 2, they're highlighted inside this dark and misty smoke from the Viper ult, but it still is reduced down to Floppy on the flank. Spider and Automatic trying to lock down sight despite all of the heroics there made by Poise. We're still in this position. Floppy starting to take the zip line across. That's always fun. From up top, you've got Spider with the knives out. And as he goes for the tap, it's likely going to be a right click to the back of the skull. It's the round going the way of T1, but again, like so many rounds we've already seen in this first half, it comes down to the wire. 1 player remaining for both teams. No one is really able to build up their cash too much.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Mark. I think at some point somebody loses around convincingly. It's an eco for the other one, but you got to give it to Poise. The way that he just repelled across and actually had that game sense to get the backstab onto T1, catching him off guard. Maybe like 1 or 2 seconds later, that window of opportunity was there for Poise, and he took it. If not, you had a player moving up towards the A nest, and the backstab was already going to happen. So I got to give it to Poise. But it feels as though once the Viper Pit went down, it was like a surprise time for everybody for C9 to get dropped, and the rifle battle was just won there by T1 in the end. This round, though, they're trying to take control towards the B side, sorry, for the attackers, and it's met with Mitch. Close range with the frenzy, 2 headshots, and quickly exchanged on a 3-3.
Was hoping for a little bit more backup from his teammate Floppy, but great work from Mitch coming out. They've got the Seekers out as well. That gives Skadoodle some safety to go in and go ahead and get the spike secured. There's the flash coming out. Moving into a position on the other side of the tube. But quick on the retake is the defense for Cloud9 Blue. You've got Skadoodle moving through on the other side of the Viper wall, and again we're down to a one-on-one, and this time it'll be Cloud9. You mentioned it, right? Like, if somebody could just win one round, like, easy enough with a couple players surviving, they can really put the game into a better position for themselves. But because one player keeps surviving, each team is just kind of like, just force up, buy whatever you can, get as much as you can. We got the spike down, or whatever the case may be. Here, though, it all started with Mitch. Mitch did all of that dirty work on long, needed some backup from Floppy, didn't get it, but it comes down to the 1v1 regardless, and Skadoodle tried to do what he could, but Zeta was already top tube and comes down from the top rope to take the round. Update, by the way, for anyone watching, if you missed it over on the B stream, surprisingly enough, Sentinels loses their map selection of Haven against Andbox in overtime, 15-13. Impressive stuff.
Great start there. If you guys want to check it out, chat if you want to check it out. It's going to be on Nerd SD Gamers 2. Back with the action here, though. That round that was won by C9 Blue was Mitch on a frenzy of all guns. So we talked about the money situation, how it's going to be very tough, a full rifle round except for one player, and it's that one player without a rifle that made a huge impact for Cloud9 on that defense. And that, we talked about the econ. They're going to be running with pistols into this B site. All 5 players looking to play the retake for C9.
Attempted shot is off the mark. No one detained by the Killjoy ult. Not entirely surprised by that. Seems to be par for the course. Nice shots from Spider with just a pistol. Got Automatic in a position where maybe could find 1 or 2 shots. Hold on. Yet again, we are in this position. And we talked about it before. How the ult for Sky seems like it's always available. Not only that, the heal comes out as the Seekers give away the position of the first player. Now the spike has been tapped, at least for the moment, but it's a quick 1-2 for Zeta. Again, it's still a pretty good round for T1, all things considered, but Cloud9 actually being able to chain some rounds together. Finally, someone's able to build some potential momentum. It's still expensive. 2 players are still the only survivors. But there's something there. That said, T1 didn't really come into that with a whole lot. So we're kind of in the same place we've been.
Let's see if this game continues to stay close. 51% of you saying that T1 will take this map, and 49 saying Cloud9 blue. And you've already seen how back and forth it's been. How close it is on the end of these rounds, the end of these situations, as we have a pause coming in. Finally now it's going to be, okay, are we going to try to bring in an op right now for Spider? Doesn't look like it. He's going to keep that Vandal because Skadoodle does have a lot of money at this point with what he could buy. So with this round, though, with how they've been executing, with the money that they have, when they have the rifle rounds on the A side, it's been pretty good. They just got caught off guard for the Viper's pit that was thrown out from Curry and the backstab that came in from Poise. And that's what, 3 times right now that we have Cloud9 blue using the second level of the A site to their advantage. First round being Leaf when he got it with the Ghost, 1 round for Poise up top there, and 1 round on a 1v1 where we had Spider on the counterattack, at least on that A tower. So both of these teams really leveraging that, and it's been helping for this A side control, whether you're on attack, on defense. So pay attention to that battle.
Wall goes in, and it looks like maybe they'd go for orb control over on long, but the player who put the wall up, Mitch, doesn't need it. Has ult already, and the teammate that was with him backs off. That was their Sova. Meanwhile, most of the attacking side, if not all, is now grouped up on B, or A, excuse me. You've still got Viper holding back on the back line, but that's no surprise. We've seen that from them before. The wall is down, and they're starting to make their way into this A site. Recon Dart is up. Dazed is going to send that one back site to try and give away position. It'll get taken care of, but not before it gives away the position of Poise. As he's falling off screens, he gets shot in the head by Spider. That's a big pickup, and it's off the back of that Recon Dart that kind of scared him out of that position. The spike has been planted, and the site's been lost. Nice kill coming in from Leaf, catching Automatic on the move over across, trying to get away from the site. Some damage coming through the Viper wall. 39 HP for Leaf. Finished off quickly by Spider, who is also taken out. Rez coming through, ult coming out. Skadoodle still in position. You mentioned the flank play, but it's going to be Dazed now in this 2-on-2, trying to get into position quickly to stop that defuse. They don't get there in time, and even if they had, it wouldn't have mattered. Cloud9 survives. Both players stay alive. There was a smoke on top of the spike, and neither player was really in a position to do anything about it. You had one coming through from screens, one up top tube on the opposite side over towards attacker spawn. And the round goes the direction of Cloud9 blue yet again. Not a great round for either team. 2 players survive, but Cloud9 is at least chaining rounds together, starting to build up just a tiny bit.
Cloud9 continues, or should I say T1 continues to really play off that wall on the A side. It's good because Cloud9 Blue really are stuck behind that wall. They don't want to cross it. They don't want to get the 50 DK, and it works out pretty well when T1 wants to take map control, but the retakes just continues to be strong once the poison is actually depleted there from Curry. That said, though, with this round, we saw an early Hunter's Fury. We see an attack towards this B side, a split from mid, up towards yellow, and it's going to be T1 taking the upper hand.
Spam coming through.
So close.
Almost takes out Spider, drops him very low, down to 18 HP. Zeta's on the other side. Great move, good timing coming in from Cloud9. And the last remaining player for T1 is just too low on HP. Cloud9 looking way more solid here as this first half progresses, starting to hit their stride. There was that early back and forth volley where rounds were going back and forth. It was being kept very close, but Cloud9 has really stepped on the gas pedal a bit more, and they're starting to build to something a little bit stronger. Now, again, we talked about this coming into the map. We thought this would be T1's map. This was a great early pickup, even if it was immediately traded. It was a 1-for-1. But that was something we saw from both Sovas. They were struggling in that first map to find kills with their ult, mostly informational, not so much doing a lot of damage. Great way to kick things off in that round for Zeta.
And the Lear is continuing to be very strong here for Cloud9 as well. Poised on that retake, you saw allowing for that backstab from Zeta as that Silva behind the site to take down Skadoodle, as Skadoodle was so focused on trying to shooting down that Lear. Now you have to try to readjust. You finally do see Leaf here towards that left side of 410. They haven't spotted Poise at this very spot where he's very good at. Even the guided light, it goes in too low, so they might not check it. And there you go, he gets the backstab.
We've seen that position played from Poise before. He's able to escape and get back towards screens. The showstopper doesn't do anything, but this ult might. This is what actually countered out Poise's ult the last time. When Empress was utilized on site, it was the Viper ult that made it a little bit awkward for him. Moving into position though, Cloud9 Blue does not struggle this time. 7 rounds to 2, and it's starting to really pile on for Cloud9 Blue. T1 has to find a weakness somewhere, because they used a decent amount of utility there with that ult for Viper, but they never really got control of the site with it.
Yeah, second time that happens, unfortunately. Just even as the Viper pick comes out, just how aggressive they've been for Cloud9. And on a map like Icebox, usually, when you have these plans happening towards the A side, you're thinking about lineups, right? That's pretty much what everybody's thinking about when we talk about the meta of Viper coming into play with this very patch of 2.06. So it's like, okay, well, how are we going to place the Viper Cloud? How are we going to throw the snake bites? They don't have that opportunity there for Curry and company, because C9 Blue, they don't want to give T1 the chance to fall back and play the pulse plant at the orb side. So very well done. This round, we're trying to push a little bit too confidently for C9 Blue, and T1 punishes it.
Yeah, questionable play there from Mitch, getting a little too aggressive, and it costs him the big kill too, losing the Sage that early in the round. Zeta was low on HP from the Viper smoke, but it's obviously back to full. They're going to be moving up long B into the site, and there's an ult coming out from Killjoy on the attacking side. They're going to try to get onto the site with Automatic's ult, and that will at least scare them away a bit, as they don't have anything to try to stop it with. But as the spike goes down, the retake is already underway. Big kill coming in from Automatic, but immediately taken out by Floppy. You've got Curry locking down the flank, but it's the play and spawn right now that seems to matter most. Somehow, Curry can't quite get the best of Leaf, who just catches him off guard. And again, we're now in a 2-on-1. Dazed is alone, playing towards Snowman. A smoke comes out. The spike is being tapped as well. Floppy's up top, peeking over top of the smoke, and it is yet another round for Cloud9 Blue here. So despite any early round advances, despite anything that T1 can get going in the first half of the round, Cloud9 seems to consistently regain control of sites and take the rounds in the end.
Yeah, still a good use of the ultimate for T1, though. With the ult that was pulled out, it was like, okay, there's still a gap towards yellow where they could hide on the defender side. They use utility to clear that out as well, but putting it to where there's that gap was more to focus on the other side of tube, on mid side, so nobody could be spraying from the defender side through the Radiant boxes and prevent the plant from happening. So to get the plant, they tried to play the pulse plant. It was still pretty close. It came down to a 2v2, but you're seeing that the scoreline is really on these retake plays for C9. We're going to have to look back at the scoreboard to see how many defuses they've gotten where Mitch gets the first struggle here. I don't know if it actually spotted the Omen, as they were so focused on getting that information on Mitch. So Floppy could still be in a very good spot.
The pup's going in. Does it spot anybody yet? Yeah, there's at least the information on Poise position.
Here it comes.
This is potentially one of the quieter rounds. Like, we're at a minute and no one's died yet. I feel like the last few rounds we've seen a lot of early round action.
Yeah.
But haven't seen that just yet. Now, this position from Floppy could backfire just a bit.
Yeah, it's going to spot him.
And there it is. The recon dart's going to give away his position. Tries to port away. As he's escaping, Spider goes up top, but somehow Floppy manages to escape and get the kill. Now, in the meantime, Automatic was coming underneath too, but at least Mitch is there for the trade back to bring things back. 4-on-3 advantage Cloud9 Blue. Now, the spike has gone down, and it's retake time yet again for Cloud9, something we've seen them do pretty masterfully thus far. Great shots coming out from Curry, but won't get a follow-up onto Poise. And that's the player you really want to take out of this situation. His Reyna play has definitely been impressive. Again, it gets brought down to a 2-on-1. Feels like that's been the last 5 or 6 rounds at this point, a 2-on-1 in favor of Cloud9 Blue. It's 9 rounds to 2. T1, they're keeping these rounds close, but they just can't get that last little bit they need.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because 9-2 makes it seem like it's so much more one-sided than it really is.
Correct. And the other thing though is the economy, right? We talked about, okay, if we could still keep making it close right now on kill departments, cool, but this is not the case anymore because as it's 9-2, the rounds are still coming on the defender side where it's 3K, 3K, 3K credits every single time. Look at how much money they have into this last round. They never had a chance for T1 to actually build that economy or hurt the economy of Cloud9 on this defender side, where now if you weren't Cloud9 believers like me having Floppy coming into this server, you're definitely second guessing now. It's looking pretty good for their retake of how fast and aggressive they've been.
And yet again, Poise escapes with the dismiss, gets to the backside of sight, needs another orb, can't quite get it in time, wanted to get that heal through. One of the more promising rounds we've seen for T1, unfortunately comes right at the tail end of the first half. Skadoodle is barely alive, my god, 3 HP. And of course it's Sky herself, so no heal will be coming through. Skadoodle just wants to go through the top side of tube, does get some information. How does it work out for them? Not so well. It comes down to Dazed and Dazed alone. The wall is in, and
2v1.
Even if he was able to get past it, it wouldn't have mattered. Again, like you said, another 2v1. How many 2v1s? I wish we had a tracker that would showcase how many 2v1s we had and bomb plants we had without having to wait until the end of this game.
That's right.
Because I would really love to see that.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be worked on looking at the later patches for the overlay, but overall, if you want to summarize this, it's just they're okay C9 for playing the patch. For a team, for T1 that doesn't have a stage to place the wall up, where they don't even play for a spray, when the walls come up on the A side, trying to get a spray through the Radionite, they're just aggressive retakes on with the Leer is just so good right now. And how aggressive they've been on their rotations. Like, T1 haven't had a chance to set up Pulse Plant at all in this whole half. Where now for C9 Blue, taking over the attacker side, hopefully T1 has something in store to make this a little bit closer, and it looks for them like slightly a desperate measure. 3 players towards mid after the guided light. They peek through. A couple of footsteps will be heard from the A side, and that's why we double pedal for the attackers up into the A side for C9 Blue. Oh.
Again, I think the thing is, like, right now looking at this scoreline, people might start looking at that phase match and go, oh, is it a fluke? You know, I still want to commit to saying, like, that first half was not the worst from T1. They just couldn't close out so many close rounds. There's still an opportunity for them to come back in this game, and it's going to start with some impressive pistol work here. But again, Poise with the escape maneuvers. His team will be guaranteeing spike placement over on the B site, but it's going to be a 2-on-3 in that direction, as Poise is not really in a position to help. That said, him being there keeps them constantly distracted about what could be coming up on the flank.
Yep.
It's what's waiting on the other side that they're concerned about. Now, Skadoodle will take a chomp out of Floppy. The flash will come through as well. That's Daze taking the kill onto Floppy. There's a nade in the hand of Lead. Has to switch to the sidearm quickly. And now you can see the effect of Poise being across the map. There's not much that can be done here. It's not lined up like you said. It'll be the round going the way of T1.
Push out to try to die. There you go. Smart play for Poise to die at the same time. And I thought it was going to be a very fast push for Cloud9 after hearing the footsteps pushing down towards mid from T1. But they decided to stop at the orb and run back. And Spider was in a great spawn to hear those footsteps come back, to get some support at the same time too from Automatic. So it was a tit-for-tat trade on both ends, but still more utility for T9 remaining on that retake into that B site. Yes, you get a spike plant. Yes, you got a couple of players down. It came down to what? Another 2 versus 1. But now, at least for C9 Blue from that plant, they're going for full Spectres. So we're evened up across the board in terms of the arsenal from both ends. And now it's going to be one of those shaky, rocky fights back and forth.
Cloud9 trying to close out the series. But T1 putting up a fight as they make some nice shots off the SMG of Dazed. slowing down the push onto the site. The flash is exactly where it needs to be. Dazed wants the 4K. He got one in the last map. He's going to get one here as well, and I think the circumstances were the same. If I'm not mistaken, T1 won the pistol, and Dazed got a 4K in the second round following the pistol, and the same thing will happen here. That's what allowed Dazed to get his ult online within the third round, I think it was, in that first map, and we'll see the same thing here in the second map, albeit in the second half. Again, you know, we look at that round separation, 10-2, you think, it was so one-sided, there's no way they're getting blown out. Not really. Those rounds were so close that even at 10-2, it's very much something I think a comeback can happen in. So T1 winning the first few rounds and being in a position where the next round that is coming at them is not all that great from C9. This is just pistols, no armor. There's an opportunity for T1 to really build up momentum, something that they never did in that first half. And in fact, it's something that both teams struggled with for a while before Cloud9 started chaining rounds together.
Yeah, and with knowing how far of a lead they have currently for Cloud9, they're okay going with shares for now too on no armor as well, just trying to chip down the economy of T1 at that point. Daze, like you said here, Mark, continues to be very good with that second round Spectre. As that gamble didn't pay off for C9 Blue, I think just the clearing in general was kind of missed from C9. Leaf missing his paint shells on the entry. But for this round, it's still just going to be a couple of battles, a couple of lurks, even a flank coming in from Skadoodle on mid side. He's going to hear all of these footsteps now happening towards mid. So look at this early rotation happening right now from Curry. And let's see what happens if Skadoodle can get a couple. Just trying to run away.
Yeah, he barely got away from that. As he took significant damage, he got some backup from his teammate, and Ska's like, don't worry, I can heal you. So Daze gets back up to full HP, but I imagine there is a small amount of resentment there as Skadoodle's unable to heal himself. Viper Wall comes out, cuts the tube in half. Entrance to the site, a little bit more awkward and uncomfortable. Spike does not go down. And even if they had managed to find kills there, the clock was already too far gone. They were down to just a few seconds left when that last kill came through. So it will be 5 rounds for T1 versus Cloud9. How long do they hold on to this bonus? I mean, obviously they won the last round, but it was just pistols, and with the round separation being what it is, there's almost value in saying, you know what, throw the SMGs away and upgrade. But they're going to keep carrying them.
Yeah. When you got Spider on the op, he could definitely be the person that's going to scout first and try to work on that too. But yeah,
Skadoodle's the one that dropped him. Skadoodle is on light armor with an SMG because he dropped Spider the op but didn't request a purchase or anything. Just stuck with the SMG, didn't have enough to buy armor. So Skadoodle's willing to take that hit, which is interesting given that Skadoodle is traditionally an op player coming from CS.
Spike down A.
More kills, though, coming in. And T1 and C9 locked again at even strength. The 3-on-3. The site's been lost. The spike will be planted, but look at the positions already for some of the players. You've got Skadoodle in a really interesting spot on the flank.
Yeah, he's actually in a great spot here for a backstab. He's just going to have to walk it through. You have to delay on the other end of the map. It's going to look pretty good here. The drop is going to make a lot of noise, and there's that backstab, at least from Curry. And this is a huge window of opportunity for Skadoodle.
Skadoodle's play, we were waiting on that for the longest time as the work was being done on site. But it's another hold from T1. The upgrade will come through, so you can all of a sudden look at the buy and be like, yeah, you know what, maybe that was the right call. You know, the SMGs worked. Casters don't know what they're talking about. Iron casters, Keck W. 6 rounds for T1 compared to 10 for Cloud9. They've managed to bring the lead down to just 4 rounds. And again, the money from Cloud9 might be shaky here. I mean, they did come into this one off of a Sheriff buy with a full buy, getting the spike down with the Bloss bonus being what it's at. I'm interested to see where it puts their cash. Yeah, it's not where you want it to be. I assumed it would be, but I wanted to see it just to be safe. So you will have an SMG in the hands of Poise, pistols for the rest. So again, another chance for T1 to keep this one even closer. I think a lot of people watching were ready to write this off after the first half. They were probably ready to write it off at 7-2 or 8-2, thinking like, all right, T1, they're not able to keep up. But the game is far from over, and T1 has proved that they can keep this one alive.
Yeah, it's really off the so far. From what I've seen, a little bit of punishment from Spider using the same spot and punishing C9 with their same strat, holding up towards that second floor A tower. Now that he has the operator, that's going to help even more to anchor the A site so they could focus on stacks towards mid. But the other one too is just the retake play is still pretty good for T1 so far, where C9 is currently getting punished on that. So T1 into this round. They do have a turret to spot up towards this execution from Cloud9 on the attacker side of B, and it stays still with First Blood.
I love the setup. Oh, the trade doesn't come through as Poise is able to dismiss and get on the other side of the wall, and the kills are piling up for Cloud9. One of the more promising rounds we've seen from them. Poise on the flank, the flash coming out. They know where Poise is at, and the swing only results in one. T1, yet again, able to get back onto the site, despite everything looking promising for Cloud9 off the initial push. They just managed to carve apart the attack turn defense in the post plant and make it look somewhat easy. Now, looking at that first map, Alex, the op in Spider's hands on the defense was a bit of a problem for Cloud9. Now, it wasn't a huge problem, but now that we have Spider again with the op, but with a better agent for opping, no less, things get a little scary because they're not able to match that on the side of Cloud9. I don't even know who you would put that in that position. Who on Cloud9 ends up being that counter-op player? I think a few of these players could play that role. Like, I could see Leaf picking it up or Mitch. But I'm not sold on some of these other players really being that person.
I don't really think you need that person overall. I mean, they're pretty much avoiding Spider or working as a group. On the attacker side, when you try to want to play as fast as you can with this composition, if that recon dart goes into the site, that's already going to push him out of position. If you have a smoke towards screen, and then you had that Leaf and Poise going to work with utility on towards the A site, that could help as well. I think what has been a detriment for C9 Blue so far has also been Curry with this Viper play. So single Poison Cloud on the B side, forcing them across over 50 DK. And also, keeping his wall for retake has been the most important thing too, especially when you have Spider playing by himself towards the A side, so that wall that he throws from Boiler to prevent his opponents from crossing over or crosses with DK also helps when Spider needs to switch over to a pistol and try to hold. So the organization for T1 in terms of defense has been looking pretty good, especially with this recon dart starting to get a clue that C9 are working towards his B site.
Floppy was in such a weird spot there on top of Tube. The pup came through and I think it spotted him, but it couldn't actually get up there, so he was like, do I peek? Do I not? Do I peek? Do I not? Ends up winning the fight, dying immediately after. The spike will be planted, and again T1 is in post-plant territory. This time, though, the numbers heavily against their favor. And it's going to be awkward, to say the least. The wall is really bizarre. Now, that ult could help. The Leer that was above Curry's head makes things a little bit more uncomfortable. There's the quick peek coming out from Poise. It's the right move to make sure that the Viper's pit is taken out of the equation. And the round finally goes the way of Cloud9 Blue. It's been a while since we've seen them pick up a dub. 5 straight for T1 before Cloud9 get themselves back on the scoreboard. But again, with the money that had built up for T1, they can afford a full buy here, including the op purchase for Spider.
Correct. And now even the money's pretty decent for Cloud9 Blue again, so nobody's going to be really out of that pit yet for reaching deep into your pockets to try to bring the round back into like a thrifty buy. You're still looking pretty healthy for this round and the next for both of these teams. Although, as T1 did find, or sorry, Cloud9 Blue did find some success by being fairly aggressive towards his B side, not only trying to go for a plant, but also pushing in towards that B site just to make sure that it's clear and that they cannot get sprayed. There was still at a point where Curry was in a great spot that he could wallbang if he wanted to, but it seems as though he didn't want to give his position away because he had that Viper's pit. This round, it's going to be still an operator in the hands of Spider and already being pushed out earlier on, and a 4-10 in control of C9 Blue.
Another Hunter's Fury coming in.
Oh.
Nice, looked like it got the tag there,
It did.
Okay, yeah, I was looking at the wrong side. Pardon me. Curry picking off Leaf. They do have that heal coming through. Again, it's the power of Sky, able to bring him up to 85 HP. to get 88. Flash is right on the money, and Dazed is there with a quick kill. T1 looking so good in the retake. Floppy tries to come through on the backside lurk, but it'll be an 8th round for T1 as their defense is what's their bread and butter this time around. I think looking back at the last time they played this map, when they played against FaZe and they had that impressive win, one would call that a massive upset. It was actually their attacking side that was their bread and butter. They won 9 rounds on the attacking side. And again, I think it's important to point out, even though we've said it a few times here, Alex, even though they lost the first half 10-2, a lot of those rounds could have gone the other direction.
Definitely.
They came down to 1-on-2s like 5 different times.
And just the communication again for T1 for the retakes have been really good, because not only do you try to go for like a flash deep into the site and try to explode in, it's like, let's take it bit by bit. So the first guided light that went right into the screens allowed for Spider to peek out from the spawn side and a teammate at the same time to swing on that spot first. Should they get that kill, another guided light could come out towards the back of the site, then you slowly flow out of the round here for T1. So very good defense so far for this T1 team. And it continues to look pretty good for C9 Blue with the economy, as we mentioned before. This is potentially their last chance, unless they get a plant that could actually bring the economy back up, because they'll be at the max loss bonus. And it starts off with an opener, showstopper, and it stops automatic in the back of the site.
That's an ult we've seen pretty frequently from Leaf. That's worked out nicely across the series. No follow-up, no second kill coming through. The site has been lost. The spike has been planted. T1 again in this position. Now Skadoodle's going to pop the ult. The Seekers are going to come out. That flash goes on the other side of the toxic wall. And they are still blind, but Zeta is still in position. So many flashes coming out this round. And it's down to Curry. And there's just too many targets. T1 not able to retake this time. And now their backs are against the wall. 12-8. Cloud9 on match and series point.
Yeah, a little bit difficult there, unfortunately, for that retake for T1. The cloud that came up, or the toxic screen that came up, allowed them to get a little bit of position, but as soon as that wall came down, they were still out in the open. That just caught them off guard, caught them by surprise, and trying to push aggressively to gain control towards yellow became just open season for C9 Blue, who are posted up at green. So just unfortunate for T1. They are now facing the lower bracket. If they lose this round, they lose the series against Cloud9 Blue. So finally, that aggression coming out for C9 Blue on the attack as a group, getting the plant in, has been paying off.
Again, you've got Skadoodle in mid as Sky. But look at the power over on B. You've got 3 players present. Poison Orb is going to fade, and that's when there's going to be a spotting of several players from Cloud9 sitting on top of it. Curry tries to get into a better position, but the recon dart giving away his position. A heal could come through from Skadoodle to bring automatic back up to full, and that's exactly what's going to happen. The wall will come out, though, and that'll make things a little bit more uncomfortable as Floppy is there on the flank. The alarm bot does start to give away his position, but it's a little bit too late there, alarm bot. Automatic. How? How did Mitch whiff in that fight? I thought for certain that fight was going to go the other way. Now, keep in mind, the spike still hasn't been planted, and the spike is actually down. It's not in the possession of either Zeta or Floppy. Oh! Zeta has to take this battle with automatic, and Spider's got the knives out. It's all about timing here. Oh, that flash, the paranoia comes through, and there's nothing that can be done. Cloud9 Blue finally close out the series 13-8 with a big win over T1, and will be moving on further into the upper semifinals.